is to take an uncooked potato and cut it in half and throw it in, and that will draw some of the sodium out.
So it won't work with the sauteed potatoes?
No, it will not. So as I said, we always start with a little bit, and we can always adjust as we're going forward. Okay. Swordfish, as I said, it's going to continue cooking. So I'm going to take this out. And also when you're cutting things, it's best to cut things in similar sizes so that they all cook the same time, you know, cook the same width and so on. That's not that bad. So I'm gonna go right into this pan with my red cabbage. Don't want to jam it all in there at once because it takes the residual heat right out of the pan. Gonna let that go for a while, and I'm gonna take these out. I'm gonna find a little baking dish because I think these are gonna need to go. These are gonna need to go into the oven for a little bit to cook them all the way through. Check though. Yeah. So while these are going, I'm going to look for a baking dish, and I'll be right back to start another load of potatoes and to work on my little cabbage accompaniment. All right? Okay. So we've started another layer of another load of potatoes. We've got the other ones in a baking dish. We're just going to finish those off in the oven. We've got our cabbage starting to reduce nicely. Now at this point in time, we're going to do a little seasoning. So we're going to season our cabbage right now. Got a little bit of dry vermouth, just to give it a little underline. We might get a little flame out of this. Probably not, just because vermouth's alcohol content is so low. No. But you can certainly smell it. So we're just going to continue letting this reduce. Check my potatoes. As I said, it's best to, instead of trying to cram them all into that, you really want a nice one layer so that you get everything nice and brown properly.
Cook them in batches.
Cook them in batches, yeah. But as the Bissons say, never enough potatoes, so I could be here all afternoon cooking potatoes. You never know. I'm gonna add just a little bit of horseradish to this cabbage to give it a little boost of flavor. And once again, start little, add as you need it. Salt and pepper. Want to incorporate that horseradish all the way through.
Beautiful color.
Yeah, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to let that continue reducing. We're going to finish up our potatoes, and then when we come back, we'll assemble our salad. We'll show you the plating for the swordfish, and go from there. Okay, so I'm back. We've got everything prepared. We're going to put it together. I'm just going to put the salad together. As I said before, once you start using metal on greens, that's when it starts to, as soon as metal touches it, that's when it starts to burn. So we've got our Bibb lettuce. We've let it dry really nice.
So you can't cut that with a knife, or else it'll finish that.
Well, you can. I mean, if you're doing it right. You know, but if you want this salad to last tonight and then maybe, you know, undressed, sit in the fridge overnight and still have green, or not brown salad, I should say. You want to. It's best to tear it. Well, you leave some of those big ribs out too. And I'm not going to dress this for you guys. I'm going to let you dress this tonight before dinner. And basically, whatever fresh vegetables you happen to have in the house. I like the scallions because the scallions add a little zip, a little bite to a fresh salad. My mother-in-law, which I love, I had never even thought of it, but I think I've mentioned it before. She takes fresh parsley and just puts like little bits of fresh parsley into her salad. Yeah, it's great. It's like a really... I've made parsley salads at the restaurant before using parsley as the actual...
Even a little basil I've been doing now.
Just a little... She's a great cook. She can, you know, all of her 20 grandchildren and everybody can descend on the house without her knowing about it. And she's the ultimate guerrilla gourmet because she can pull out dinner for 20 in, you know, an hour with no notice. So we've got our fresh greens. We're going to sprinkle in our tomatoes.
Okay.
Scallions. Yes. Fresh mushrooms. Break up some of those scallions. There we go. So we got a nice fresh salad for the folks tonight. And as I said, they've got the champagne shallot walnut dressing that they're going to use. And then we'll actually do a little plated meal here. We've got our home fries, which we went back in the oven with for about 10 minutes. I just, you know, when I learned how to cook at the restaurant, I had no formal training. I learned from the chefs on duty, and when I said, how long should I be in for, they said, till it's done. And that's how you learn how to cook. You go back to it, you pull out a potato, and you bite into it, and if it's done, it's done. Whoa. Excuse me. So we've got our little home fries. We've got our red cabbage, which we finished with dry vermouth, a little bit of horseradish, salt and pepper, and I added just a little bit of whole butter to it also.
Nice deep purple.
Very pretty plate presentation. Then our fresh seared swordfish steaks. In the restaurant business, when you're plating things with skins, swordfish, strip sirloins, the least delicate part, that should always be to the inside of the plate so that your guests, when they start eating, they don't have that skin staring at them. They start on the outside of the plate. All right. Fresh lemon. Doesn't have any, but she's going to go get some this afternoon, she said so. A little bit of fresh lemon, maybe a sprig of parsley if you've got some fresh herbs, whatever you happen to be cooking with, little garnish of that. Any kind of wine. Glass of Chardonnay. I try and steer people away from Chardonnay with food just because Chardonnay is heavily oaked. And most Chardonnay, I shouldn't say all Chardonnays. Most Chardonnays are heavily oaked, and it's very difficult to pair food with oak because nothing tastes oaky. Whenever anybody asks for white wine recommendations with food, I always turn them towards Sauvignon Blanc is one of my favorite wines. Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris. There's a multitude of other wines, but I always try and steer clear of, in general, Chardonnays. That's not to say there's not some great Chardonnays out there that are unoaked. Mainly French Chablis are Chardonnay, believe it or not, and most of them are unoaked or lightly oaked. So there we have it. Thank you again to the Bissons and Don and Jane, who's skipping school. I don't know if her principal's watching or not, but she's not sick today, just so everybody knows. My friend Bob Heisen from Heisen Photography in Sudbury. I'm Scott from Bullfinches. Thank you again.